What's going on, guys? I know a lot of you guys don't watch TikTok. This financial channel is usually a lot of the older crowd, but they do even have some good financial information on TikTok. So this is going to be a quick compilation. We'll roll a couple clips and I'll react to them. This first one is about money versus time. And I thought this was interesting because yesterday I did a live talking about a guy who's a minimalist. And we'll roll a clip and I'll react to it.
My backcountry parents had ever taught me. The most important lesson my backcountry parents had ever taught me is you have two resources, money and time. And you can't have both. You have to pick which one is more valuable to you. My parents chose money, and this always surprises people because we lived in the woods. We were trying to be off grid. What do you mean your parents cared more about money? You don't even spend it. I'm like, yeah, because that's what they value more. A bar of soap costs $1, but my parents would rather have spent all day in the kitchen making soap from goat's milk than spend $1. The amount of labor they did and they never got their money's worth for it always blew my mind. So when I got older, I valued my time more. I blew through I have no fucking money and I don't give a shit. Like if you're coming here for financial advice, you're looking in the wrong direction. First time I went
This is so true, and I experienced this as well. The light in my car went out, and on a Cadillac, you would think it would be a simple fix, but no, after YouTubing it showed me that I had to take the whole bumper off. And what did we do? We took the whole bumper off instead of just paying someone to do it. I will never do it again, but it was some good bonding time with my dad. So let me see if I can find a clip of it. This is how it looked, and no, it wasn't in an accident. We had to take the whole front off just to put the bulb in the new light. So in the future, I'd just pay the $200-300 for them to replace the bulb because this took hours of work and it wasn't worth my time or my dad's time when we could have been spending it hanging with his grandkids and my kids.
To the Middle East, I was 20 years old, and we were, of course, in Giza in one of the pyramids climbing up the tunnel. It was super cramped, really dark, humid, pretty uncomfortable climb. There was a couple in front of us, much older, past retirement age, and they let us pass. The man stopped me, and he said, "I wish I had done this when I was your age instead of now when I retired, because I don't know if I can even physically make it up this." And his wife nodded along, and when I tell you that this had one of the most profound effects on me in my entire life, I mean, this is one of my most vivid memories when I realized that I was making the right decision. Everybody would disagree with me my whole life, that I was screwing myself over, but I knew for me, in that moment, I was doing what I needed to do. Am I gonna have a retirement plan? No, I'm totally...
That's terrible. You need to plan for your retirement. There needs to be balance. Like, don't work all your life and not have any fun, but don't have so much fun that you don't have a plan. If hopefully you live to be 100, then you're broke the next 20 years of your life.
Broke, and I'm gonna pay a price for that someday. The reason I'm able to even make any of these videos, to have this knowledge and these experiences, is because I never valued money. But at the same time, I'm aware that I'm in a different kind of situation, because if I had not $1 to my name, I know how to survive in the woods with rope and a knife, so fuck it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Now, before Grant Cardone talks and this young man Nick the CPA talks, I caught this too. I thought it was a big red flag because if you do your research on how to write off vehicles, you know that once you sell that car back, the government wants its money. They want their taxes. So it made no sense to me either, but we're going to roll a clip and I'm going to let this Nick the CPA break this down.
Bought a Rolls-Royce Cullinans, $446,000. I bought it before my growth conference. I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna put it on the stage. I got it. I'm like, this is stupid. $500,000 for a fucking truck is stupid. I sold it the next day. So I bought it, sold it, boom. I wrote it off though. Right. I wrote it off because it was at my conference. So
he just wrote it off. Bought it, sold it, wrote it off.
Stupid.
Before addressing that, let me just say this. He bought a truck that was over 6,000 pounds, I'm assuming, and he 100% bonus depreciated it because he used it 100% for business. Because he used it at his conference, I'm assuming it was driven solely for that purpose. It was clearly a business purpose, and it was 100% used for business. So sure, you could take the 100% bonus depreciation in that year of purchase. Much like I'll justify for someone who buys a truck December 31st, uses it only for business for that one day, that's 100% business, you can bonus depreciate it. So on that aspect, I'll give it to you based on the circumstances he just gave us. Okay, I can justify that.
True.
But then he's like, but you know what? Didn't need it, so I sold it.
If you sell a car back, the government wants taxes on that income.
And I still wrote it off.
That's not how
I
it
just love
works.
the other guy's like, oh man, brilliant move. It doesn't do anything though. And here's why. If I bought a truck for $500,000 and wrote the whole thing off, that means my basis in that truck is now $0. Mm-hmm. If I then sell that truck for $500,000, for $1, for whatever amount, I will have a gain of whatever that amount is, and I will have to pay taxes on that. It will just be offset by the depreciation I've written off. More than likely, he bought it for $446 and sold it for $446. Nothing probably happened. It was a in and out transaction. He probably let his accountant know he bought it, sold it, all this kind of stuff, and they're probably like, you know what, it's fine, we'll go ahead and take care of it. It really won't impact you in any way. He's like, well, am I able to write it off? And they said, well, I guess. Yeah, sure, I guess you technically wrote it off. And he was like, sweet. Wrote it off, still made my money back. These are just power moves. I gotta let the world know. And he did. He did let us know.
I bought it.
If I know that that's not how that works, I'm pretty sure a CPA should have known that's not how that works. I'm just trying to figure out how Grant Cardone, the multi-millionaire, damn near billionaire, doesn't know that that's not how that works. But next clip.
In case you haven't heard, Elon Musk says remote work is no longer acceptable, but that's not the interesting part. Yesterday, I speculated that this doesn't make any sense because Tesla workers have worked remotely for over 2 years, and Tesla is doing better than ever. So why would Elon Musk force an unpopular policy that he knows would make people want to resign? In yesterday's video, I said I suspected, but could not prove, that he was doing this to force a mass layoff without actually firing anybody. Turns out, the labor lawyer was right. Today, Mr. Musk announced that he needs to cut 10% of Tesla's workforce. That number is super important because federal law requires that if Tesla lays off this many people, they have to follow certain requirements. Those requirements take time and they cost money. Also, Tesla would have to pay unemployment for all those people, maybe even severance packages. Oh, and all the expenses from Cobra coverage. We can talk about that later. Anyway, Elon Musk is a super smart dude, and he says he has a very bad feeling about where the economy is headed. So I suspect, and now I think I can prove, that the reason he's saying that remote work is over at Tesla is because he wants people to resign. Because if everyone just resigns, he doesn't have to lay them off. And if he doesn't have to lay them off, he doesn't have to comply with the WARN Act, he doesn't have to pay unemployment, and if they get a job elsewhere, he doesn't have to pay Cobra Care. I think the lesson here is when you see someone as smart as Elon Musk doing something that looks irrational, there's probably a reason. And there's another really important reminder. No matter how well your employer is doing or how hard you work, you cannot expect loyalty from your job. The minute a company senses some trouble in the economy, you're out of there. And
that's a fact. He made a really good point. No one really thought about that because I was wondering, why does Tesla people need to go back to work if they've been doing this for so long? But makes sense to me now. Next clip.
I tell people this all the time. It's expensive to be cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive to be cheap, bro. Prime example, I had a house that I was working on. This dude, he told me he could come and do the work. I think he told me it was like $7,000 or something like that. And then I had somebody else come give me a bid. He said he could get it done for $4. I paid the dude the $4. Terrible. Awful job. I called dude back that charged the $7. He came back, looked at it, like, yeah, I can get it done for you. I can get it done for you, no problem. It'd be like 10,000. I was like, bro, you just said it was 7. Why is it 10? Because I got to fix what Buddy did and then do the job. I said, all right, gave him 10. Ended up paying $14,000 for a job that could have cost me $7,000. Mm-hmm. Being cheap is expensive. I tell people this all the time.
Yeah, he's right. And sometimes that happens like that in life. Next clip.
How about this? You give 100 people a $1,400 check, right? Everyone understands you can't just leave it in the bank forever because of inflation. The value goes down because what happens when they print trillions of dollars from the sky, the dollar becomes less valuable. So no poor person is going to take that money and just leave it in the bank. They're going to either spend it or invest it. Let's say there's 100 poor people and the 100 poor people spend their money. What do they spend it with? Businesses. Who owns businesses? Rich people. So now each one rich person who owns a business gets 10 poor people's money or 20 poor people's money. Amazon, their stock price went up 30%. Why? Because people are getting stimulus checks and spend it on Amazon. It all went to the rich guy. And then they go, oh yeah, but what about if they invest it? Invest it where? Invest it in the stock market? That increases the stock price. Who owns the company? Rich people. It always ends up back with the rich people. You can't stop making the rich richer. You cannot stop it. People inside the matrix don't understand what's happening. And they're going to sit there and go, but the government cares about me. He gave me $1,400. The government doesn't give a shit about you. The government is looking after its friends. The government gave all the slaves a little bit of pocket money so they can send it all to the rich guy. Talk about this. You give 100 people.
I ain't even got nothing to add there. Nothing but facts.
So here's the craziest thing. Do you know how many businesses in Japan are over 100 years old? 50,000. 50,000 businesses are over 100 years old in Japan. So the question becomes what? How and why? Out of all the major countries in the world, guess which country has the highest life expectancy? Japan.
Oh, Japan.
When they interviewed the CEO of this company, they asked him, they said, so let me ask you a question. What's the key to success with your company? He says, one tip, don't drink too much. Stay in control. Don't get out of control. Don't make too many stupid mistakes because you're creating momentum. Momentum can be lost very quickly. So the Japanese culture of a short-term business plan is 20 years. In America, a short-term business plan is a year. In Japan, it's 20 years. They're like, what are you talking about? So
and a long term is 5 years also here.
That's right. 30 years ago, all these executives from here flew out to go to Toyota to see what their headquarters is like. And they said the biggest difference between them and everybody else is they're planning for 20 years from now. They're planning for 40 years from now. We don't even think that. Well, we're trying to hit the next quarter's numbers.
Right.
I think I'm going to end this right here. That's all I got for y'all. Hit the like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll holla.